Welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Football Malpractice, brought to you by Razball. I am Dr. Donkey Teeth, joined as always by the Boof down in Atlanta. What's happening, my man?
What's up, man? Show number 5 feels like a little bit of a milestone. You know, the Roman numerals, we'd be hitting the V.
Yeah, I mean, we've made it, man. This is it.
Yeah, after that, you start going, V1, V2, and it just builds from there. So momentum is definitely happening.
Are you in better spirits this week?
Yeah, I am. I mean, nothing is really resolved in the world, but just some time has passed. I feel generally better. I'll tell you we're putting our boys, they're sleeping together in the same room now, and that has been also weighing heavily on my soul. But the bedtime's getting better and better every week. I mean, I'm here, we're going. We kind of started on time for the first time in a while, so that's also improving. We're feeling pretty good over here. How about you up in the burbs of Chicago?
Well, I got my boy Carry On here with me now, so
I love it. I love that you got that up there.
all is right in the world. Oh, you know what? I forgot to tell you, though. I've got major beef with the fathead guys. And I know you do, too, because you haven't gotten your fatheads yet, as we saw on your whiteboard last week. But it was a two-person job getting this thing up. And we had to use a knife to cut this thing out. Like, the perforations were not done well.
Oh,
it was a real pain in the ass. There was a couple times where I thought I was going to cut a foot off. I need to file a complaint with the fathead people. We talked before the show that they probably got this order for Carry On Johnson, and they're like, what? We've sold 0 of these in the past 2 years.
Some dude definitely won a bet with a coworker, after the draft. He's like, yeah, just get rid of all the Carry On. No one's going to buy them. And one guy's like, I'll bet you 20 we get one order, and you were the order. Man, that's good to know about. I was thinking you just pulled it out of the box and you peeled it off and slapped it up, but that's good to know that I can expect a process.
Maybe it's because it was Carry On and they had to do a special print run.
They were use the old label maker, whatever they use.
Not wasting the good stuff on it.
Yeah.
But no, Carry On's gonna have a huge year, so
love it. Top 10 dynasty back.
Yeah, absolutely. We got some news this week, Boof. A little more is flowing in. The big news, I guess, is Dalvin Cook has come out and said that he will not be reporting to training camp or the facilities, or he's not doing anything until they give him some money.
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously all over. I guess it was yesterday, maybe the day before, and certainly everyone took it and ran with it. I wasn't surprised. I mean, any of these running backs who show any semblance of being actually good, so Rashad Penny need not apply. But,
some semblance before that injury. There was semblance.
He's had a run or two highlights. I mean, these guys are challenging the system, and more power to them. But they're all threatening to hold out nowadays. You got to really think about that year before the contract is up. You may start hearing these things, and Cook was certainly a candidate after the year he had last year. So obviously, I don't know. I kind of think I have to say I've not read the new CBA, but apparently it's not as forgiving as the one that Melvin Gordon used to his advantage, previously, where he held out for half a season and still accrued a season towards his contract being up. I don't know the details, but from what I've heard, it's just not the same deal. So Cook may not have the leverage that MG3 had.
That didn't use it to his advantage, is putting it, I guess, kindly, because it didn't work out very well for him.
Well, yeah, he got out of town, I guess, and didn't bang his body up for half a season. But
he lost money, though. I mean, I can't remember what the offer was reported that he got from San Diego.
Yeah, I didn't keep up, actually.
It was substantially more than he ended up getting from the Broncos.
Gotcha. All right. Well, yeah, maybe it's not a smart idea, but nonetheless, Dalvin's playing chicken with the front office. And for us, it means, Alexander Madison, I think in Dynasty was already owned, especially at the end of last year. Dalvin was injured, so he was picked up. I doubt he was dropped. But Mike Boone becomes the free agent guy if you want to, take a chance. But Madison's exciting, but I don't think there's actionable evidence. He's just, if he's there, you want to get him, but he's probably not available. And I wouldn't trade for him now because the owner of Madison's going to want a king's ransom. And you don't even know what's going to happen. Like, it's not worth paying up for the potential yet, I don't think.
Yeah, if we're talking dynasty, I mean, hopefully, if you're the Dalvin Cook owner, you were able to acquire Madison before this via draft or trade, and had your bases covered. If not, I agree. It's not really the time to. I mean, you could always sniff around and see, but
sure,
probably not the time to buy. As far as redraft goes, we discussed this on the Razzball Fantasy Football podcast last night. We actually had Jeff Erickson of RotoWire on the show, and we talked some Razzball with him. Of course, guys, go sign up for the Razzball if you haven't yet. We'll put the link in the description again here. But we also discussed this because it was fresh news, and he said that he had done. See, I guess the news came out 2 nights ago. So tonight is Wednesday night. I think it came out Monday evening. He said that he was going to be holding out. And Jeff was in a RotoWire online National Fantasy Football Championship draft that night. And he said Madison went 80th off the board, which is, that's expensive. I get it because you look back and, I said this on the show, 2 of the last 3 that held out, you've wanted to own their backups. Looking at James Conner 2 years ago when Le'Veon ended up sitting out the whole season, and then last year Eckler worked out awesome even after Melvin came back. So the one fail was Zeke, and that's, you're talking about the Cowboys doing something that no other team really would do, and he might just be a special player in his own right, but to give a guy a 9-year contract, just give him all of the money, that's just Cowboys move. I don't see any other teams doing that.
Yeah, I mean, and that one you got to read the tea leaves. I think I honestly was never too confident that Zeke wasn't going to play. I mean, Jerry Jones just he's not going to back down to that kind of challenge. And I just think that was a power move by Jones to pay the man and, have his bell cow, yada, yada, yada. And I just felt like that was always going to happen. But I will say that in older years, I think, the threat of the holdout never seemed to actually happen. But in recent years, it's actually happened. I mean, these guys seem pretty content to just actually not play games. And, that's great. I think that's great if they've proven their worth and their, the rookie contract. That's a whole nother discussion. But I think it's fine. But for fantasy purposes, I think it's more actionable now. That being said, I just think at this point you can't. I mean, Madison is still not 80th overall. Someone got trigger happy when they heard the news, I think.
I could see pulling the trigger on him in that area if you do draft Dalvin Cook. I think he's the must own.
Because you don't want to ruin your season, immediately. But otherwise, I mean, I don't think you can count on him. We're 3 months away if the season starts on time. I just think that's a little low.
Yeah, but I think, the next question is where do you draft Dalvin right now? And for me, that's hard. More or less just avoid. I mean, he's not going to fall past pick 5 or 6 realistically. He was going number 3 before this. Maybe he does fall to the back end of the first. Even then, I'm starting to, is it even worth it? I kind of had him a little bit down in my my top 10 rankings. I think I had him at 7th overall prior to this. So I'm probably going to bump him to the back end of the first round. Just,
that's about right.
Good players.
I mean, if someone's thinking, hey, I'm going to take the discount, I'm going to still get Dalvin, that guy or manager or whatever is he's probably going to plan to get Madison. So, that's just baked into their draft plan, I would imagine. And then if you want to snipe Madison in, 8th, 9th round ahead of that person, you can do it. But otherwise, I think no one's drafting Dalvin probably without already baking in, I'm going to have to get Madison later. And so I don't love that draft plan anyway. because you're hamstringing yourself in your whole, like, first 10 rounds. But different strokes, man. That's what makes this game fun. Everybody's got a different strategy. I don't think I would do it.
Yeah, I'm with you. So then the next topic that came up, going back to our conversation with Jeff Erickson, was well, he's a Bengals fan, so obviously we had to talk about Joe Mixon and the potential of Mixon possibly holding out as well. And then he also brought up two guys that I hadn't really so much considered in Leonard Fournette, since they've declined that fifth-year option on his rookie deal. He'll be a free agent next year. And then the one I really never considered was Aaron Jones, who's going to be a free agent next year.
Mm-hmm.
And they've gone out and already spent the second-round pick on his replacement and potentially in A.J. Dillon, and they've still got Jamal Williams. So we could see three other guys hold out. This could be a nightmare. We could have seen a Christian McCaffrey holdout too if he hadn't signed that.
He signed the big deal. Yeah, I mean, I think I went back and looked when the Dalvin news hit. I actually retweeted my old article from December where I basically broke down how the rookie contracts work and the recent examples of LVB and Zeke and Melvin Gordon, and like tried to parallel like who's in situations that could mirror those precedents that we've seen. And yeah, it's a ton. I mean, that class, I guess, from what it was, I guess it was 2017. Yeah, was a pretty great running back class. So there's a lot of guys who are coming up on that fourth year. Henry got avoided because they franchised him, but he'll be in that boat next year. And then, McCaffrey signed the big deal. He was definitely a big one. I just don't think Mixon. I mean, Cook definitely has done enough. I think he can do a holdout. I just feel like Mixon hasn't done enough. I mean, he doesn't have any leverage to me. And that's what I wrote in the piece. Like, I didn't even really suggest to be on the lookout. I said he could be in that situation, but I don't see it happening. There's also like Chris Carson. I think there's Marlon Mack. I mean, there's a lot of relevant running backs that potentially could do something like this. But I think Aaron Jones is a real interesting one, actually. I hadn't considered him. But, he's in the same boat. And they've obviously shown I think, willingness to draft another running back. They're probably not going to re-sign him. So I think that would be not helpful for him.
Right. And I mean, you got to say the same about Marlon Mack.
Mack, I think they'd laugh him out of the room.
Okay, leave.
That's fine. You want to hold out? Okay.
Good.
But, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch. And I think going forward, just kind of as a more philosophical angle, we all need to really be thinking these running backs the year before the fourth year. So after the third year, you may not get that fourth year in its entirety, depending on how the team views the player and stuff like that. This is going to be pretty common unless there's some big shift in rookie contracts or something like that. So, unfortunately, when we talked about the other show, running back anxiety and that whole window, now you get one less year on the rookie deal to be certain of that as a fantasy manager you're going to get from your player. So it's a tricky situation.
Yeah, and, I'll just top this conversation off with the idea for, more best ball drafts, I would say. Take shots on these guys that the backups to the guys we've just talked about. Our boy A.J. Dillon, we love him, but
I'm with you.
Also Jamal Williams, down in Jacksonville, Raquel Armstead, maybe you can get him really late. I actually was kind of in on Chris Thompson before this. I think that he's gonna get a lot of work in the pass game, and most best ball leagues now are full point PPR. And then out in Cleveland, I mean, Gio Bernard is in Cincinnati, Gio Bernard is free too.
Yeah, he's true. Like his ADP is actually pretty surprising because he's shown he's quite good if given the opportunity, and Cincy has fed him as a bell cow when Mixon's missed time. So I mean, he's kind of like Madison in the sense, and actually like Eckler, I think, where should the starter go out, these are situations where we know the coaching staff is going to use them in that primary role, and you can't say that for every backup. So they're all kind of that perfect scenario to take a shot on, I think.
Yeah, the thing with Gio is he just didn't get much work last year. And honestly, I'm not sure why that was. I don't think it was health. They just really ramped up Mixon last year.
Yeah, and Gio's a good player. He's a really good player. I like him a lot. He's just, I don't know, bad luck, I guess, being in a situation where no one ever wanted to feature him. But
So we went a little bit longer on that conversation than
it's a good
intended there,
convo.
the booth. But Gurley has passed his physical. I don't know. There's not really much to talk about there. I mean, I
Just
guess.
finalized it. Yeah, I mean, it's just official. I didn't realize, like a couple weeks ago, it came out that he hadn't actually passed his physical, and I was like, oh man, that could be a real interesting turn of events. But it's just official. He got to see team doctors, and I still am not a girly guy, but it sounds funny.
You're a girly
Yeah,
man.
I'm not a girly man. Yeah, more power to him. Those that I've already drafted him. You didn't make a huge mistake, and should have an okay season, I guess.
Yeah, I might end up owning a share. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out and has a huge season and does the Todd Gurley thing. But I mean, a lot of risk there, which I'm not going to be loading the boat with Todd Gurley shares. Let's put it that way. Other news: Desean Jackson. Is this NewJersey.com? You put these notes here.
Yeah, I think it's a beat writer. I don't think he's a Philly beat writer, but yeah, he writes for a site. And he mentioned this guy Mike K. Mentioned that in Philly they're expecting Djax to be the lead receiver for the Eagles, which I think is notable simply because his ADP is like buried at like wide receiver 60. I mean, if you could get any team's leading receiver at wide receiver 60, that is just free money. So, and it's also notable that Alshon Jeffrey is not expected to be the leading receiver. So
well, that's what I was going to say. Who else would it really be? I mean, Alshon, rookie, maybe. I mean, it's probably going to be Ertz, right? But
well, sure, and it said receiver, so not tight end, but.
Jackson looked great last year, but you can't count on him to stay healthy.
What, one game, 2 touchdowns, and then never played again, right?
Yeah.
He like destroyed the Redskins in a revenge game, and then never played again.
I had him in an RCL league, which are the Razzball commenter leagues, if you guys don't know, and we'll be setting those up shortly. And the winner of, I think it's the top 10, because there's an overall pool to the Razzball commenter leagues. And they're super flex leagues. We made them super flex last year, so that's fun. But the top 10 do get automatic bids into the 2021 Razzball, and the top 10 from last year got bids into this year's Razzball. So, we hold up our end of the bargain there. But I drafted Desean Jackson, the point here that I was getting to, and I traded him after week 1. I think it was for Devonta Freeman, so it didn't really work out that great. But
lose. There's a wash.
They're deep leagues. But it was funny because he didn't play anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just think no matter what, if that's even the expectation, that ADP is a steal. So, best balls that are going on right now. I mean, keep an eye on Djax. I mean, yeah, and in a best ball, maybe it's perfect because he can give you the spike week. But honestly, even if this drumbeat, as they say, continues, I would still take shots on him in redraft once those drafts come around. So.
Yeah, the thing is, if you got a short bench in a 12-team redraft league, you're probably going to end up dropping him because he's going to get hurt, and you need those roster spots. But
yeah, he is 34, but it's interesting nonetheless. I mean, any guy going at that 60th off the board is position who's going to lead a good team with a good quarterback. I mean, I'd be buying.
What's the news on Devonta Freeman?
Oh, that just keeps going back and forth. I mean, I think the latest was Freeman and his agent said that they didn't want to negotiate through the media and that the Bucs can reach out to them. But there's been a lot of back and forth with the Bucs coming out and saying that Freeman wants too much money, and Freeman saying I'm interested in I'm talking to Tampa Bay, but never, I guess, maybe directly. There's just a lot of buzz. If nothing else, it tells me, I think the action item is that Tampa Bay is interested in adding a veteran running back like Freeman. Even if they don't want to pay him, they're still interested in adding a back, which that alone, really to me dampens the excitement on Rojo if you had any, and even Keyshawn Vaughn. So I just think that Bucks backfield's full stay away, especially if they're looking to add a veteran back like a Freeman. So
yeah, I'm skeptical that they're actually interested. Maybe just kind of kicking the tires. Could be wrong. Definitely a little bit of reason for concern, but I'm really not buying it. I'm still in on Vaughn, and hopefully this knocks his price down a little bit, and
sure.
we can get a little bit of a discount on Keyshawn Vaughn. But yeah, I think my takeaway is there's just not much of a market right now for Devonta Freeman.
Yeah.
One of the spots is already off the board. Carlos Hyde landing in Seattle. They needed that depth with Chris Carson hip injury and Penny with the ACL. So
yeah,
Lamar Miller's still out there.
Oh yeah, remember him?
Yeah, I don't know what his health is like, but just not much need right now for running backs. And you can get these unsigned, undrafted free agents for nothing.
Yeah.
So, what next, Boof?
Yeah, I thought it'd be fun we have about, I think, 10 minutes if we're going to really try to meet our self-imposed deadline here. So briefly, thought it'd be fun. We're headed towards having games. It seems I'm real confident in that, but fans might be a difference. Do you have any suggestions for some fun things they could do instead of just having a dead air with the game going on, if they don't have fans to show and stuff like that?
Well, I've always been a proponent of I've always thought that there should be different broadcasts and you could select your announcers. So if you wanted,
choose your own adventure.
Exactly. And it doesn't seem like it'd be that difficult to do, because I've always wanted, my ideal football game would be like Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr announcing this game together, and they're not even like really watching the game. They're just making jokes and, oh yeah, they scored, and then making fun of the players and stuff, making fun of the coaches. That's what I want. I just want to be entertained by some funny guys, laid back, and it's just always, the announcers are just always so like serious.
Yeah, they're self-important.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's like they're always trying to like mansplain everything. Come on, the people that are watching this, okay, yeah, there's probably a few people out there that don't know anything about football that appreciate your explanations, but most of the people are like, shut up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. In fact, most of the times I watch the game on silent and do something else or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you could just have like a music channel where they just put the game to music and maybe play some new music for you. Like,
yeah,
there should be options where you can just flip through. CBS has all these different options.
I like the choices. That's nice. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's my one idea. Well, you had some ideas and I had one that tied in. So go ahead with yours.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think for one thing, miking up the players would be brilliant. If you want someone to explain the game to you, who better than the guys on the field exactly what's going on? I think that could be really fun. Just more direct communication. What is the quarterback talking to the coach and things like that? You might run into some problems because you could have the other team watching the broadcast and relay discussion. So, if you got real complicated, the Pats would do something like that. So it might not be the best way to go about it. But I'll tell you what everyone just needs to freaking deal with the fact that most people watching these games have some kind of bet going on, and embrace it and talk about it. I would love if announcers had a wager between the two of them, or announce their own card, their gambling card before the game, so you knew what they were rooting for and stuff. I think that would really make the experience really fun, because we're all rooting for the field goal to miss so we can hit our under or whatever. And to have the announcers be tying that in, to be talking about like, well, man, if you had the over, you really don't want a touchdown here, like stuff like that, I think would just be a blast. And, to see announcers on full tilt if they lost would be awesome. I'd love to see that, because we're all tilting. We're either tilting for fantasy or we're tilting for our bets, or both. And so to hear the announcers just get into that with us would be so fun.
Yeah, and that could be one of those broadcast options where you've just got like full degenerate gambler announcers.
Yes, that's what I want.
this pair, like one has to have a lot of money on each side, and they're just complaining about every call against their team.
Especially if it was like the wager was a handshake wager between the two of them, so they were like mad at each other, or like just disgusted.
Or yeah, one of them has to do like something ridiculous after the game too, on
Yes.
top of the money part.
I mean, this is like a slam dunk idea. I don't understand why it's not happening.
Yeah, and actually, so my idea that tied into that, and I honestly, I think this is probably where things are heading with the legalization of gambling. I'm envisioning like a partnership between the NFL and DraftKings where it's like embedded in the broadcast, and there's like just live props and in-game wagering going on, and
Awesome.
just linked right up to it. You can probably like do it with your remote, just boom.
Oh man. Yeah, you could have a special DK remote that actually has the buttons and stuff. Man, yes, this is this is one of those things where it's going to happen, and I'm going to be like, I should not be betting on this. I should have invented this. And so, then I'm just getting all the royalties and whatever, but I'm sure it's already in the works. Too late to get in on that now.
Well, buy DraftKings stock. I think it.
Yeah. Didn't it tank when it IPO'd? So now it might be good to get in because I think
it's been on a decent run. I was in a little bit. I'm out right now. I might need to get back in because I think there's probably an announcement like that not far down the road.
They're already an official partner, and as we get more technologically advanced and that kind of stuff can happen in real time and things like that. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I need to go buy some DraftKings stocks when I get off here.
It's still cheap. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's get in.
Did you have any other ideas?
No, gambling is where I begin and end.
Self-promotion, and we'll wrap it up here, man. What you got going on right now?
Yeah. I wrote an article recently actually tying perfectly in with DFS and kind of that whole area. But I think that season-long players should be using the DFS content, whether it's the free stuff. A lot of sites are putting out free DFS content. We can link the article in the show notes, but basically, people are doing research and cherry picking very low rostered players that we can get on the free agency and expect a good week out of it. I think I found like using Rudy's tools, which I think is kind of a premium tool for our Razzball website, but using Rudy's tools, about 60% of the time you could pick a guy who is most likely available for free off your waivers, and he would give you at least 8.5 PPR points in a given week. So that's a really nice thing to use, given the fact that people are researching weekly specific projections now. We can use those even in season longs. We're still playing a week-to-week game. So that's that article. Check it out. Also, I will be dropping my Devy rankings, which is developmental leagues. Basically, it's like you can draft college players and stash them on a specific inactive roster until they hit the NFL. But it's just a whole new world. If you love Dynasty, you're going to want to get into Devy because it's even better. And the creativity you can do in building rosters and all this other stuff that the deeper you go, the more variation there is in rankings. And so, you can develop your own system and get guys that other guys aren't even looking at because you have the entire college football pool to pick from. And it's a really fun format. So for those of you who are already in it, I'll be dropping that this week. And for those who aren't, hit me up on Twitter or whatever, and we'll talk about Devy because that is an exciting way to play this game too.
Yeah, I'm actually, I don't have any Devy leagues, Boof. You'll have to get me in one at some point, whether it's this preseason or next year. But can you draft high school players as well? I thought you could.
Yeah, they vary. I'm a commissioner of a Devy league myself, and I've opened it up to, you can literally take anybody who's not in the NFL. So, if you want to draft some Canadian Football League player or a high school player, actually we had a 7-round Devy draft, and there was a high school rising senior quarterback taken in that draft. Turned out to be an error. The guy's pick was actually not up, and so he had already picked his full allotment of players. So we had to throw that guy back into the pool. But basically, it's all run off a Google spreadsheet, so there's no rules. You can pick anybody you want.
I'm taking the Boof.
You don't want me. I played quarterback back in JV. but was not very good. So I don't think you want me.
So let's see what I'm working on. So we still got the Raspberry. Obviously, we mentioned it before. Sign up for the Raspberry.
You
Your
do a
shot.
lot of heavy lifting with the Raspberry, don't you?
Oh man, it's a lot of work. The real work is organizing the leagues and making sure everybody gets in. It's like herding cats trying to get all the industry guys to like actually join the contest.
Yeah, you had to like send out a couple DMs to our group even to get us to sign up.
There's still several of our writers that aren't in there yet. You know, at some point I'm just gonna be like, screw you, you're not playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, sign up for the Raspberry. We'll have a fan lottery. You know, I think I'm going to start to, and you can do this too. I'm going to add a little field to the sign up sheet, and we're going to start putting like little Easter eggs in our articles out there on the site, and just say this is a Raspberry Easter egg. Enter this word into the Easter egg field and get an extra lottery ball into the fan lottery, something like that, to incentivize people coming over to the site, reading our content, being part of the community. We want we want those people to be in the Raspberry and compete against us.
Yes, it was really fun last year. We already talked about it. Go back to episode 4. You can hear more about the Raspberry if you're listening to today's episode.
Yeah. Other things I'm working on, just dropped the top 20 quarterbacks today. Got a lot of shit for excluding Matt Stafford was the main one.
Excluding. Excluding. I like Stafford. We'll have to talk about that on another show.
I like Stafford as well. And actually, I had him in there, and Beadon was actually the one that kind of convinced me that I don't like him. It's because of the back, you know, and there's just so many quarterbacks. Dangerous. I like him, and I totally see the upside, and he could absolutely be a top 10 quarterback, even a top 5 quarterback. But I don't see the need to take the gamble on a guy that's had back issues. There's just so many quarterbacks this year. It like goes on and on with guys that I'd be totally happy with if I'm not taking one of the top group.
True.
So another thing, I'm going to have the top 10 running backs coming out pretty soon. So it'll probably come out Friday. This will probably
will Carry On make an appearance? That's the question.
Not in the top 10 running back. I don't foresee him. Boy, I don't know if he's probably not going to make my top 20. I've still had him. I had him at 20 in Dynasty, but that's mostly due to youth and the fact that he's going to get out of Detroit sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I'm going to be drafting him all over the place. I may even pair him up with Swift. I know that that's just absolutely insane to take 2 Lions running backs after this is a nightmare situation, but
no, I mean, I think somewhere in the 20s might be right. Late 20s. I bet you could slide him in without too much of an argument, but
that's what she said. Boof, you got any media suggestions before we sign off here?
Oh yeah, I did actually. A podcast. I was listening to something today called The Left Right Game. That's the name of it. It is one of these fictional podcasts that tells a story. Kind of interesting. I mean, I really only got through episode 1. It seems like it's a kind of a paranormal story of some weird events happening. That's really all I could tell you, but it was interesting so far. So if you're looking for a non-football podcast, Left Right Game, check it out.
Huh. All right. Mine was a new Netflix show. We watched it. They're like 35-minute episodes. It's called Space Force. It's with Steve Carell and John Malkovich. Comedy, very light, easy watch.
Good stuff.
It's funny. If you like Steve Carell, you're gonna like it.
I do like Steve Carell.
Yeah, who doesn't, right?
Great guy. Just seems like a dude you want to hang out with, honestly.
Right. Maybe we can get him on the show.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Maybe we get a Steve Carell lookalike. That's probably more ballpark.
That's more Raspberry style.
Well, Boof, it's always a pleasure. And you guys, if you would be so kind as to subscribe to the show, if you've made it through 30 minutes of us idiots talking and you don't hate us, click subscribe. And
you might as well. You have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And then, if you keep watching, eventually I've got a couple real nice fatheads just waiting to come onto this wall. You're going to want to check that out.
Yeah, we're not going to spoil the surprise of what those are, but they're no carry-on.
No, well, who is? He's one of a kind.
All right, follow Boof out there on Twitter. He's ALF underscore
No.
AL
Get it
underscore
wrong every time.
F underscore RED.
Yes.
I'm going to change that name to the Boof. I am at Donkey Teeth 87, and come check us out at Rasbel.
That's
See you
it.
later, Boof.
All right.